So welcome. Welcome back for some. This is about timelessness, freedom, unconditional love, energy. What's suggested is that there is just singular causeless immediacy, which is not bound by anything. Boundedness is energy appearing as that, but it's not real. There's no sense of anything actually being real, and real in the sense of being limited, finite, contracted, constrained, restricted, conditional. These are appearances. So energy is simply timeless and undimensional. It's distanceless, and yet energy seems to be able to appear as confinement, as limitation. So energy can appear to expand and contract without space or time in that. There's just the sense that energy can move fast, it can move slow, it can be still, it can be speed of light, it can be gravitational, it can be floating all over, it can be hot, cold, it can be anything. It is anything and everything, and yet it's nothing at all, no thing at all. And there seems to be a separation experience that occurs in a human body. The human body seems to be energy, human bodying, and what can also seem to accompany that is a sense of position in space and time. So suddenly there's a here, energy is appearing as here, a here-ness, and there's a there-ness as well, so a here and a there. And this is the dream and the world of dimensionality. So when this experience seems to happen for a human form, there's all of these other dimensions seeming to pop up, like time, so now and then. It's the dualistic dream. So the dualistic dream comes into play of polarity. So time being now and then, space being here and there, consciousness, me and you. So subject, object. All of these polarities seem to appear when this contraction seems to be inhabiting a body or latched onto a body. And that makes everything seem to be an object that is related to by a person, by a human, a me. And that includes time. So time is a something that I'm relating to, that I'm knowing about. So I'm knowing about memories, and that means that there's a now and a then. And it also means that there's a here, I'm here, and there's a there. So I'm now and here. And this all seems very concrete when this energy is seemingly happening. It feels very substantial, like fixed. So it's the dream of realness. It's also the sense that this is all absolutely fundamentally real, solid, concrete, and that it's an absolute reality. And this, it's like concentrated. It has the sort of quality of being concentrated energy. Like boundlessness could become contracted, and therefore it seems like really sort of solid and real. And as that seemingly happens, there's the sense of time being real, and therefore the sense of a journey being real. So journey and destination also seems to set in. Like there's a journey, we're moving in a direction in time and space. And perhaps hope comes in, meaning and purpose too, of course. And there's the sense that the destination is a good destination, that I can all of a sudden make choices, and with my own volition, choice, effort and free will, autonomy, I can navigate the body, I can, call the shots in the brain and the nervous system like a commander or a captain of a ship, and navigate the body to go this way or that way, and then I can make good decisions, right decisions. And as this perhaps timely seems like it's timed, there's a sense of morality in all of that, like there's a good and a bad and a right and a wrong. So that's another duality that seems to be happening. For many it seems. It's a story, but this is how it seems to be. Because I have choice, therefore I need to make the right choices. I need to make the choices that are deemed acceptable and worthy. And this goes on, and with the time feeling like a linear horizontal line in this dream, it feels like it's moving either steadily or erratically or suddenly or gradually towards a required or a desired outcome, a desired destination. And the destination is always, of course, at a distance from me. And this is a seeking sort of energy. It's like, as long as I have a destination to move towards, I'm definitely a real someone that's definitely really going somewhere better than this, hopefully. And that all just seems to perpetuate this experience of separation. So the experience of separation is confirmed as a reality when I'm moving in a direction. I have a path, so I'm definitely going somewhere. And so, for a while it might be substances, intoxicants of various kinds, it might be possessions, objects, people, relationships, spouses, children, parents, friends, whatever. It might be cars and all of that stuff. And for some, this sensitivity just seems so sort of intense in a way, and that there's just sort of a sense, an intuitive sense maybe, that this isn't going anywhere. This isn't going anywhere, so maybe I can work towards going somewhere that is a sort of a lasting happiness and fulfillment. And so maybe this spirituality and religion and therapy seem to happen as just another form of materialism, basically. Another form of materialism that if I get into a spiritual path of some kind and make good choices, then I can become more holy, more sacred, more worshipable or impressive, or improve myself, or maybe I can just feel more calm and zen and tranquil. Whatever it is, it's sort of a destination of feeling content or happy or worthwhile. The perfect object of gratification may even become something like enlightenment or liberation, awakening, spiritual awakening. Kingdom of God, kingdom of heaven, uniting with the divine, higher and lower self, with a capital S and a lowercase s. There's this constant seeking and perhaps even a longing to come home, really. This is the suggestion, is that this energy feeling diseased wants to come home. There's a longing to come home. But what isn't realized for this individual experience is that home is not objectifiable, so it could never be found. It's not an object that can be had, because all objects are something that I relate to. Home is not an object. It's not something that's arrived at or reached or found or lost. It's never moved towards or away from, because it's not an object of gratification. It's not anything. It's not a thing. If it was a thing, it would be another object I could get or perhaps lose. But what is suggested is that this isn't a thing, it's actually all there is. Home is unconditional freedom or unconditional love. It's everything. It's totally all-encompassing. And it's even all-inclusive too. So whatever's happening is what's longed for in that respect. It's not subjectifiable or objectifiable. What's longed for is the absence of separation, but that's not what's wanted, because this separation experience could never want for non-separation, because that's the end of it. That's the end of the separation dream. And so it's a kind of death, really. So this me experience is constantly going after something that it can refer to and relate to and have, so as to confirm it's a separation, an individual, a real individual. And so it doesn't want this. It doesn't want its own absence. It could never want that, because it doesn't know what it is. It's unknowing. It's unknowability. But for some bodies there is just some sort of receptivity, like a sort of a receptivity to this search, this endless, hopeless, meaningless search is never going anywhere other than what is timelessly this. And when there's that openness to such a exploration, or just a celebration maybe, It's not always a positive celebration, but when there's an openness, there's just a sort of resonating and a dying into what is already timelessly everything. But the separation experience being what is also what's longed for. It's also what's longed for. Because if that's what this is appearing as, that's unconditionally free to be that. So there's no validation whatsoever that this individual illusory experience is a hindrance, an obstacle, a predicament, or a problem. It's just what's appearing to happen, like anything and everything else. So there's no validation that that's a problem, that it needs to go away, that it needs to stick around, that it needs to change or be cured. It's not a broken thing, it's not a problem, it's not broken. And with this meaningless utterance and exposure, which is positionless and therefore not speaking to anyone or from anyone, there can just seem to be some sort of dancing or a shimmer.
Can I make a suggestion? I'm seeing your image here in the camera. The head is very tight.
Oh.
To the frame. That just need to push the camera up a little. It's kind of like that.
Thanks. Otherwise it might look like the headless way.
Yeah, fair point. Since I'm talking, this is like, well, I think I've watched a couple of videos of you like 2 weeks ago or so, and then I've felt like this resonance with the message. It's kind of in an interesting way. And then we spoke a little bit yesterday regarding the possible effects in the body of, I don't know, these meetings, or I don't know, just receiving, just being open to the message, etc. And then, yeah, I think you also mentioned that it can just happen regardless of having someone for that to happen to. But then, like, since yesterday night, I was feeling this very strong vibration, like in the body, legs and stuff. While I lay down in my bed and I was like having a hard time to fall asleep.
Yeah.
It wasn't feeling bad. It was kind of okay, but it kept me awake for a while, and then. But it was just a very strong reverberation of sorts, like.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, I'm not sure, even if it's a question, but I was wondering if that could be like symptoms in the body of.
It can be.
Of the meeting.
It can be.
Such.
It can be, but it doesn't have any meaning to it.
Yeah.
And it's not hope-filled either.
It's not what?
It's not hope-filled either. It's despair.
It's despair?
Yeah. Energetic despair. So it's not someone becoming a no one.
Oh.
Yeah. Because what might happen, if that's validated also as a reality, that experience will just chase after the resonance. Yeah. But the resonance has got nothing to do with me. nothing to do with it, and yet everything to do with it. And the resonating and the glimpses and the awakening is all totally illusory, because it's the illusion seemingly falling away. So an apparent process is illusory. Yeah.
Got it.
But that can seem to happen, yeah. That can be a...
Yeah. Sometimes I notice to be stronger than other times. This time was just like, felt strongly, I would say. Separate question would be regarding money. Is it, because sometimes like I see myself getting caught into thoughts on lack of money, and let's say I need to get into this path now, so I'm going to earn more money to get somewhere better, kind of a thing. But that is it money? Is it money specifically some sort of a trap too, in a way to...
Me will turn anything into an object of gratification. Yeah. If seeking's happening, it will turn in any direction it can to feel comfortable or safe or cozy, secure. And money is a biggie, right?
Yeah.
You know, but it's not. Money happens or it doesn't, and making money happens with or without me. Yeah. Hello.
So, like, funny enough, if
It's
money...
It's not like if one tries to stop earning money or tries to stop caring about money, then seeking would decline. No, seeking would just find another expression. It would just find another thing to go after. So that's why we see, you know, people running off to ashrams and caves to renounce all possessions, worldly situations, so as to experience liberation. All they're doing is changing the story of seeking for pleasure, now seeking for enlightenment. It's the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So deciding to go into a spiritual path, and compared to deciding to earn lots of money to get somewhere, they are both objectifications in that sense too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Same value of whatever that is.
It's the same thing that I relate to, just a different story, a different garment that I pick out from the wardrobe of separation.
It could also be the opposite. It could be, I'm going to deprive myself of all money and all material stuff.
Well, exactly. That's what I was saying about, like, when people renounce, they shave their head and take robes or sannyas and go off to an ashram or whatever. It's just as much seeking as getting heroin from a drug dealer. So
the premise is, if I commit to myself to doing such and such, I'm going to get someplace.
There's a promised destination for me. And me can't choose either way, because there's no me already to be choosing. So there is no me already. So there's no choice, there's no chooser. So, you know, seeking happens or it doesn't. And it doesn't matter either way, you know, whether it happens or not. It's all unconditional love. There's no hierarchy in that sense. No hierarchy in that sense, no authority, no better or worse, anything or anyone. It's all freedom. Not freedom on my terms, because that's a contradiction, yeah.
What do you think awareness is? I know there isn't one. But how is that illusion? What?
It's separation. subject-object. I am aware of this. Yeah.
I'm talking like maybe mechanically or something. How is that possible? How does that work? Do you have any idea?
It just seems to appear from the point of view of a subject. So when there's a subject, there seems to be awareness.
And you think that it comes from the contraction?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's almost like it forms some sort of an apparent point of view or something.
Not a particular point of view, just a point of view. It is the point of view. Yeah. Because when the contraction is happening, there's a sense of being aware of other things happening. That's what's meant by contracted energy. Because there's a sense of being somewhere, there's a sense of being aware of everywhere else, and everyone else, and everything else. So everything is objectified, and awareness can only seem to function in that separation experience.
Because sometimes you can be aware when you're asleep.
Can you?
Yeah. Or some sort of something that
dreaming, you mean?
Conscious. No.
Right.
So maybe at a different brain wave. I'm not talking about deep sleep, obviously, maybe.
Yeah, because in deep dreamless sleep, there's no subject or objectification. Yeah. So awareness, it's suggested, means distance. It requires distance for there to be awareness. There has to be a distance between a something and a something else. And that's how knowing seems to appear. Knowing and awareness, they're just synonyms.
But it's beyond what we consider the normal functionality of the organism, in a sense, because obviously it functions when the illusion is not there.
Yeah. Apparently when the experience is happening, it absolutely feels essential. Like human depends on awareness, surely. So it has that sort of incidental arrogance about it, that I need to be around for this body to function, to go on, because my body would just die without me. Sort of projects that self-importance onto everything else as well, sometimes.
I understand that. It's just strange that I was just asleep, but there was something that was still, and I've had that other times. Sometimes for a long time when I'm sleeping.
Yeah.
Something is like, it's like noticed afterwards that obviously the body was asleep, but there was still some kind of something was, I can't describe it.
Of course, recollection would be another object that awareness relates to. So I recollected that I was sleeping. Thinks it was there, it wasn't. But it thinks, because it's remembering a concept about a period of time where there wasn't anyone there. That's another thing that I relate to. But also, energetically perhaps, a sense of coming and going.
The only word that I would be able to put on it is awareness.
Okay. Yeah, maybe it's like faint sleep sort of state, where there's a...
I've had it in deeper, like, deeper versions.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know.
It sounds like in yoga what they call pratyahara, which means like when you're on the line between sleep and wakefulness, and you're just sort of like on like a
cusp.
Yeah, you're on the cusp of awake and asleep, and there's
maybe
and there's a sense of someone having that, someone in that, someone coming and going faintly. I don't know. Maybe it's that, maybe it's not. Doesn't matter either way.
it's. Could you also say contraction could be called concentrated energy?
Yeah. Yeah, that was mentioned in the intro, so yeah.
Yeah.
It seems to be concentrated.
Yeah. That sort of makes sense.
That's why everything feels so real, because it's like concentrated.
And creates a point of view.
It is a point of view, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the point of view.
Well, the concentration is the point of view, but
yeah.
it create with that point of view, there's a creation of that phenomena of distance and awareness and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. All of that would seem to emerge out of the experience of being a separate individual, knowing this and that. In a way, it's a wonderful magic trick.
That's what I mean. It's beyond physical. That's exactly what I'm saying. It's not just purely the apparent physical functionality of the organism. It's beyond. It's somehow. It's almost a bit.
Yeah, because it's not really in the body.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why sometimes there's reluctance to say contracted energy comes into the body. It's more like it's with body somehow, and it's also in everything. It's undefinable. Yeah.
With like versus within.
Sorry?
Like the contraction would be with the body versus within or inside the body.
It's just simply undefinable. It might seem to be with the body. It might seem to be within the body. It might seem to be in everything. But it's the illusion of position, and the position seems to be body. You think about Google Maps and the little orange figure, you know, it's like that. It feels like this is where I am, this is who I am. And what's revealed is there's no I am.
Is there probably like a function to that, otherwise people wouldn't?
A function?
Yeah, I guess.
What, like a purpose?
No, more like a practical function of.
Doesn't seem like it, because it doesn't do anything. It doesn't seem to be serving any purpose whatsoever. There have been theories that it developed when Homo sapien was evolving, but there's no knowing what function that would play in so-called evolution, because it's literally useless. It doesn't do anything.
Huh.
It seems to be more of a byproduct of evolution, if anything. I don't think it's a useful functionality. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because like I was thinking in a way, when apparently you were born, you don't have the notion of awareness. So
when body is born, perhaps, yeah, doesn't seem like there's any awareness for a newborn baby. There's just
so this comes later.
Yeah, it seems like somehow or other, you know, after birth, sometime after birth.
Because I was just thinking if throughout life, if this location that you mentioned, just like Google Maps kind of a thing, wasn't locating in over here, you would just not feel that you are here at all. You would just feel that you're nowhere.
That's absence, yeah.
Which is probably the case when there's total absence, right?
It's death really. So there's no sense of position.
Yeah, and even though functionality apparently happens, so there's no function to having this contraction energy.
No.
In some point specifically, like in this body, for example.
No, it doesn't seem like it.
So why not stay since birth just locationless?
Why not?
Well, you would just save us a lot of time and struggle.
But it wouldn't save us, because there is no us. Yeah. It's only a hindrance to itself. Body doesn't give a shit if me sticks around or not. It doesn't care. It couldn't care less. It might show up with apparent symptoms of agitation, but it's not like body is thinking, oh God, I wish this me would just go away already. Only me thinks it wants to go away, so it's going to have a better experience for itself, and it's its absence, so it doesn't want its own absence. It might think it does, but it doesn't. It wants something better in its own illusory preference-orientated state.
Can someone, or can I have like a memory of a moment in time of complete disappearance?
Can there be a memory?
Yeah, for example, we were talking yesterday about that couple of days of like full disappearance, and I somehow have a memory of that event. It seemed to be an event.
It can do, because memory doesn't depend on me either. So memory can still appear unobjectively without a separation experience. So if there's a glimpse that can happen, memory doesn't necessarily cease functioning altogether. There might still be recollection happening whilst an apparent glimpse is happening. And then me comes back, accesses that via memory, and thinks it's something that it had, that I was there, somewhere in there.
Okay, but even if I don't think that I was there, for example, how is it possible to have a memory of a total disappearance of no one thing?
Because body still is functioning.
But he's remembering what exactly if there was nothing?
Unidentifiable thisness.
A what?
Unidentifiable thisness.
Essence.
Isness or thisness, yeah.
The body could have a memory of that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because of the contrast, for a start. Body seems to apparently register, timelessly, an apparent contrast between absence and presence.
Got it.
Or being and meing.
Got it.
So, for example, this body can seem to recall the night of the hand. It sounds a bit like a horror movie. I think it's a funny way of putting it.
The light of the hand?
There was one particular glimpse that seemed to happen where I was looking at my hand and then suddenly there was just hand. Yeah, so body still seems to be able to recall that. It's just not an objectifiable reality. Thanks.
Interestingly, I think when it goes into the memory, it doesn't remember the essence of that. It's still...
Yeah, it misinterprets it. Yeah.
It's still, in the memory, it imagines it as if it was there when it wasn't there.
Exactly. Yeah. Thinks it's a nice blown out experience that I had, and maybe I can go after it again. Yeah.
Because I just remembered one exactly, something very similar. Same thing, actually. I wasn't at a meeting, but I was on the phone with somebody who was on their way to a meeting.
Oh.
I was driving and drinking coffee, and I was like, whoa!
Yeah. You're going to sing for us again, Jack? You're not going to sing for us? No? Okay.
I'm being very quiet today.
Aww. I've not crushed your spirit, have I?
And it's killing me.
Aww. People want a comfort break, or are we okay?
I'm just ordering Starbucks now for coffee, so why don't I just finish it? And we forgot the pastries in the truck, right? We didn't bring them. So I'll go over there and pick those up at the store.
What now? Or
Yeah. And then you just...
yeah, we'll just have 2 minutes, 2-3 minutes, you reckon?
No, for me it'll take probably like 10-15 by the time I get back.
Oh. So we just carry
I'm just
on?
gonna, if you want to, and then I'll be back in a little bit, and then
All right.
have everything ready.
Okay. we'll just carry on. What do people want to do? Are you all right? So we'll just carry on sitting, yeah.
Just keep going.
We're going to have a break at about 22, quarter to. So,
it's really sometimes hard to, well, if you stop and think about it, just an purposeful beingness, or just this not having or serving any purpose at all when the meeting itself, to without any purpose in itself. Sometimes it's very vague sometimes.
very what?
Vague.
Vague, yes. Yeah, because me doesn't seem to be able to comprehend timeless freedom.
Yeah, no.
So there's no time, purpose just totally hopelessly collapses. Purpose is totally dependent on time being a reality, moving somewhere.
But it also seems like the me doesn't value timeless freedom.
It might turn it into some sort of purposeful thing, like an idea or a concept that I can understand, which would be not timeless freedom. Or timeless freedom appearing as timely freedom or something.
Yeah, but when it can't even conceptualize timeless freedom, it's almost like it doesn't value being here without any purpose at all. It's kind of a...
No, because it wants something.
Because it wants to be here, right?
It wants something. It doesn't get anything out of this.
Yeah. And then that's it.
Yeah.
It's really funny because it's sometimes it's a total relaxation, and not that there is the me surrendering. Sometimes it's just blank, and then comes like a little bit of a me struggle, like, okay, and then what? And then that goes away, and then you have blank again. It goes like little ups and downs of sorts.
Yeah. An apparent timeless fluctuation of blankness, and then conceptualizing.
Yeah.
Analyzing, understanding, vague, absent, present, me, be, this, that.
Yeah.
It's just energy, dancing, timelessly.
And if for some reason I think, okay, this should be all the time blank, that's the mind trying to come up with that's the mind trying to impose some sort of the way it should be happening.
Well, the mind isn't really doing anything, because there's no such thing as a mind. There's just thoughts appearing, which might be seemingly appearing on behalf of someone as an attempt to figure this out and to make it more this than it is already.
To make it what?
To make this more this than it is already. Because if I'm not thinking, or if I'm not seeking, then this is really this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
But there is only this, with or without an apparent illusory me experience.
Yeah, well, it's very clear that the me is never going to get this.
Because there isn't a one, anyway. There isn't a me already.
But even the sense of the me that is somehow being felt right now, it's never going to get that.
No, because this is the absence of it, of me, of a separation, yeah. It doesn't get its absence.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And trying to get this is this appearing as trying to get this.
Yeah, but even when I hear that, that doesn't change anything.
No, maybe not. Why would it need to change? It doesn't need to change. This is it.
No, it needs to change to that wobbling sensation we were talking about.
Yeah, because that is the existential need for something to happen for me.
Yeah, it is.
Which is absolute unconditional perfection.
So that's perfect.
It's unconditionally perfect. It's not perfect in the way me thinks it is, perhaps.
Conditionally perfect. It's a good title.
Title?
Yeah. Never mind.
You could say unconditionally free, unconditional love, unconditional perfection. There's no definition that really elaborates on this, because any definition is this appearing as definition.
Definition, you said?
Yeah, you know, definition, concepts, terms, words might happen. There may be a seeming dance of talking, conceptualizing, or not.
Yeah, I mean, don't know what else to say.
No.
It's good.
In a way, all of this is such a gargantuan, radical embrace that me can't possibly accept. You know?
Yeah.
It's such an embrace, it sees nothing, there's not even an it to be seeing anything wrong or right with anyone or anything. It's so sort of all-encompassingly, all-embracingly, all-inclusively this. Me can't do anything with that. It doesn't want it, because the embrace of total belovedness or whatever kills it.
Well, it's taking its time doing it.
Because you're in the way.
When I hear that, the me can't comprehend, the me doesn't want that, that just pisses me off.
Right. Pisses me off, yes.
But it just seems like there's this frustration connected to that.
Do you have to talk that loud?
I'm done. Here you go.
What are you saying, Jack?
Nothing.
It pees me off, yeah, totally. That's this as well.
I knew you were going to say that.
Did you?
But that doesn't help at all. I know.
Yeah.
Well, I think there should be a complaint department.
A complaint?
Complaint department.
Oh, Parliament. Is it their fault?
When I went to the deli just before the meeting, there was this obviously woman that was having severe mental problem. She's walking toward me. She's cursing, yelling. She looks so angry.
Yeah.
I just felt so bad. I thought that there should be, and when I hear certain people say, oh, her suffering's not real, that seems so dismissive. And
Right. Well, that would be an attempt to apply what's being shared.
I don't follow.
Well, if someone's screaming and cursing and whatever, and someone else just says, well, that's nothing apparently happening, that might just be an attempt to apply. Therefore, I just won't care, or I'll ignore or suppress, avoid, neglect. That's nothing to do with it. Yes, that's nothing apparently happening, but this is nothing apparently happening. There is only nothing apparently happening.
And wanting to help is also apparently happening.
Of course. There is only...
Not of course. Absolutely. It's easy. It's elementary.
Helping or not helping happens. Either way, it's no one doing it.
Okay.
Did you miss the part where we said this is utterly useless?
Yes.
Yeah.
So one can say that meetings like this are more threatening to the me versus just daily life, in a way, right?
It might seem threatening, because there's a sort of starvation that seems to happen.
Yeah.
There's no feeding.
Like, even in the world, let's say, even if you're just walking around, not necessarily even interacting, you can feed yourself, let's say the me, more easily versus in this setup, if that makes sense.
Seems like it. Me is seemingly always on a journey to get something from somewhere or someone.
And that like feeds into the notion of the me being there, I guess.
Well, when it's getting something from someone, it seems to be validated.
By itself?
And the other.
But let's say you're just by yourself, just walking and then, yeah, maybe thinking about something like is it always somehow finding food for itself and trying to...
All the time there's the separation experience happening, there's seeking happening. There's no seeker and seeking. There's just seeking.
But does this seeking feeds itself from seeking?
There's just seeking apparently happening, with no one in it already.
But the seeking strengthens more seeking.
Well, but it's not real time, though.
Right. Okay, so maybe no.
So there's no real cause-effect, process, progress, ascending, descending, just this, timelessly, seeking happening or not. So what is?
Okay,
when the seeking is happening, seeking can appear as a thought about what I'm going to seek after, which is also seeking, of course.
Yeah.
Whether that's seeking for a drug, a person, seeking to impress, ego sort of type seeking energy. Me can't help seeking because it is seeking. There's not a difference between me and seeking. That's the suggestion. The energy of separation is seeking energy. So it's not like a process where contracted energy happens and then the seeking also happens. There's no duality.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what can you say? Yeah, there is. I think I see that there is seeking. There is also the world. Both appears like at the same time. Seeking and the world, or internal, external, happens at the same time ish. But can you say that everything reinforces seeking, or the world is seeking in a way?
No, there's just the contracted energy that seems to be seeking after something. Doesn't know what it's looking for.
Doesn't what?
Doesn't know what it's looking for.
Oh. So it's not like the world is designed more to seeking versus non-seeking.
No. No. There's no real world. There's no real person. There's no real separation between anything, because there's no between and there's no thing. So there's no between. There's no... As soon as it's revealed there's no separation, it all falls apart. The idea of a world, the idea of 8 billion people on a world running around like mad headless chickens, and the idea of seeking and seeking to not seek and all this and that. It all falls apart. Total immediacy. Just this, without anyone in it.
Can I make it happen now? Like,
could you make it happen now?
I mean, I'm joking, but you know.
Yeah.
God damn it. Because everything is linked to the sense of separation, and that's the one. That's it.
Me is separation. Yeah. Me doesn't live in separation. It is separation.
It is separation.
Yeah.
And that suffering,
You could say it's the definition of suffering in terms of non-duality, yeah. Aside from pain, like physical pain. Dukkha. In Buddhism they call it dukkha. Unsatisfactoriness. Dis-ease.
Dukkha?
Dukkha, yeah, it's a Sanskrit word. It's the Buddhist way of seeing suffering, which is the separation experience, or samsara. Yeah.
Oh, samsara is suffering?
Well,
it's a
yeah.
cycle of suffering and pleasure.
Yeah, it's an endless, timeless cycle. Yeah, which isn't really happening. It's a complete illusion. No one gets out alive.
What do you mean?
No one gets out of separation alive.
Oh, great.
So the Bodhisattva ideal, apologies to, it's just the fun of the stories.
That's fine.
But the ideal of like trying to open the door of nirvana to let all sentient beings through onto the other side. There's no other side, there's no other shore. There's just timelessly, immediately this for no one.
So the icon is not precise,
The
or
what, sorry?
the symbology is not to the point then?
Well, when it becomes a teaching, it's completely illusory, yeah. Because a teaching implies that there's a real individual who can really progress towards liberation, enlightenment, nirvana, moksha, absence.
No, you know, but even the image itself that you ready to describe, people like going to this way to the other way.
It's the me's way of interpreting what liberation is. It thinks it's going to get out of the door, and what's going to be revealed on the other side is a blissful experience for me in a pure land or heaven or you know, even purgatory, you know, whatever. Yeah.
But could there be like a better imagery to represent that?
No, because there's no imagery connected to absence. This me will just distort everything as an idea that it can use to feed itself, to think it's moving in a direction towards freedom that it's going to have on its own terms, never getting anywhere else other than enjoyment and excitement of going on a hopeful path towards an imagined destination which doesn't exist.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And all the time it's going to teachers and priests and nuns and yogis and shamans and this and that, it always seems to be validated as a problem that needs to be fixed, solved, changed or cured, and it doesn't get any of that validation from this at all. Yeah. And that's where the embrace seems to be. It's like there's no, you know, it can seem and sound very cold and bleak and dark and miserable to me, but actually it's a total radical loving embrace, because it's saying that no, it's not a problem, it's not a predicament, it's not an existential or mundane predicament, it's just energy appearing as separation. So there's no validation that needs to go away, even if it swears down that it is a problem. That too is unconditional freedom, asserting that there's a problem that needs to be fixed. It can't win, it can't navigate this, it can't approach it.
Yeah,
it's just too loving, it's too compassionate, and yet me would never know that, never agree with it.
What a thing.
Yeah, it's a rebellious little child trying to run away from what is already this.
I can see that. It's, I think it's too powerful. I mean,
Yeah.
God damn it.
Inescapable freedom.
Can't argue. I can't.
Well, that's all right. You know, argue, debate, disagreement, resistance, resentment, misinterpretation, ridicule. It's all freedom.
Yeah, but somehow, yeah, I'm asking questions, etc. But somehow, when I hear what you're saying, then it's kind of I see it's hopeless. I can feel that's kind of it's not gonna happen to get anything or move towards anything. Like I can definitely sense the hopelessness of the whole thing. And that's just how I'm sensing it.
Yeah, and pain can happen, you know?
Yeah. It's
Pain,
kind of
sadness, grief of the loss of the validation that there is a real destination for me. You know, grief, sadness, fear, despair can all appear when coming into contact with a total absence of validation, that there's a problem to be fixed. And that is absolutely, totally, beautifully what is.
Yeah.
And for some it just seems like that's waiting to happen. It kind of seems like that. It's not really, because it's timeless, but...
Say it again, sorry.
It can just seem for some like that's just waiting to happen. Grief, sadness, remorse and fear and all this stuff can just explode when it's revealed that there was never anyone and there was never going anywhere, never a chooser, never a wrong turn, a mistake.
Oh, who's waiting for that to happen?
No one.
Oh.
It's just like energy seems to be relieved in a way.
Oh. Yeah, I keep thinking that since yesterday, this reverberation of sorts felt like energy moving, I don't know, somewhere else or moving outward. I don't know. It felt like a process of some sorts.
Yeah.
But it felt like an exit too. An exit of like waves of reverberation. I don't know.
Yeah, reverberation is a nice word. Yeah.
And either with or without the sense of me, it just felt the same way, like this reverberations moving outwards.
Yeah,
that's how it felt. I don't know.
It's not really moving outwards because there's no inside or outside, but it can seem like that when it's objectified. It feels like it's expanding or moving somewhere or growing, developing. It's not really moving or still. It's timeless and motionless, nothingness.
Could it be like a release too, like an apparent release?
Yeah, it seems like a release, yeah. Maybe.
And you say all of that can just suddenly stop and you'll notice it was never there. It was never there. The suffering, the strife, all of that, right? I instantly turn that into a hope. Yeah, that's what I want, that's what I want. Yeah. So that's the event that, even though I don't want to admit it, yeah, that's what I'm waiting on. From this state to that state.
Exactly, yeah. Like there's a real process, a real journey, a real destination, a real distinction between nothing and everything, or separation and liberation. There isn't. Liberation is separation, and vice versa, and neither of them are real.
No. When...
Really?
when the dropping away, however the story goes, right? When all of those things, you know, they just disappear. They were seen as never real, right? That sounds like something.
Yeah, but it's not seen. You know, and it's fine that speakers say the word seen, but it just doesn't work or resonate for this at all. Who is it seen by? It's not seen. Liberation isn't seen. It's the end of the seer.
My head hurts.
It is seen that there is no one. Who is bloody seeing that there's no one? It's totally misleading.
But it's an event.
No, it's not.
There's a scene that there's no one seeing.
No. It's not.
And I still haven't found what I'm looking for.
Oh.
We're good.
Shall we have a break? That's a good note to end on right there.
It's like pushing on a pull door.
Pushing on a pull door.
Trying to understand this is like pushing on a door that obviously says pull. I have to respond to it. Well, I was quiet for an hour.
You were. And then you've blown us all away with your beautiful singing voice.
I'm thinking, I was thinking about practices, that it's a movement towards something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the individual only exists in, the individual has to have something, so it always, this sort of projection of thrown out its anchor and then pulling towards it, it'll automatically do that in any circumstance, whether it's a practice or not, or any sort of life situation, whatever it is, its predicament that it finds itself in, the way it thinks it moves in life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if, you know, if I stop one thing because I realize that, I'm doing it somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah, as was said earlier, the material search just perhaps turns into a spiritual one.
Or the other way around.
Or the other way around, absolutely, yeah. In a way, it's sort of miraculous how it can turn just sitting into a practice.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's the Zen methodology. Well, it becomes a methodology when there's someone in it. Like, we're just sitting to just sit. It's like, isn't that amazing how even that can be turned into a process or a practice for me?
I often wondered whether this had an apparent history, has ever been said in such way as it was originally said by Tony. You know, I wondered if this had been said before.
Yeah. It seems like some people in the Buddhist tradition came fairly close, but then gets clothed over, gets buried.
Well, very close is...
Yeah, I mean, there's no knowing, you know, like Nagarjuna or Dzogchen or other apparent masters in the apparent lineage, you know. It's like there seems to be pointers, but who knows whether it was or wasn't, because there's no relating to that. Not that it matters, but it's interesting with such scriptures like the Heart Sutra and how incredibly similar it sounds, and then it gets turned into a teaching.
But so many speakers have that now.
Yeah, of course.
They have a beautiful description. As you said yesterday when you were reading that book.
Which book?
The one that my mom was reading, and you said it's so incredible how sometimes every once in a while that something comes out, and then there's a moment of inspiration.
I call them diamonds in mountains of turd.
I also think perhaps the individual likes to have that establish that continuity and that certainty for itself, that someone has arrived because on that conclusion before. So that way it makes it somehow perhaps, if he or she was talking about it then, and it's more stable, or some kind of a framework that it makes it safer in a way or something. It has MDMA again in it, like yesterday?
Have what?
Dun dun dun.
Come on, share it with us. Don't just keep it to yourself.
Sometimes it just happens.
So Alexis, is this like sort of a communion in a way? What's happening?
Communion.
Yeah. Because like we are quiet. I mean, just kind of a being here. That's the word that comes to my mind, like some sense of communion of some sorts. I don't know.
It's just this. It's just this. Quietude is this. Talking is this. There's no separate individuals for this to be a community of some kind.
But could it be a communion even without separate individuals?
Not sure, really. I mean, it's community. It somehow or other seems to imply a group of people who are doing something, going somewhere, making something happen or creating something.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's this kind of meeting, but some meetings that I've been, it's definitely not this meeting, but some meetings, some teachers like have this worship of silence.
Right.
Which I don't think it's the case here, but
no.
But at the same time, it's all very quiet, and it seems to be some sort of a beingness in silence.
I mean, quietude is just what's happening without agenda. To be quiet, there's just quietness happening.
Yeah.
Whereas like a sangha or a satsang,
Yeah.
or a community, would be a gathering of people who are intending to sit quietly,
Yeah.
to achieve something. Just nothing wrong or right with that, but that's like sort of an intentional based thing with an objective.
Redemption. What did you say? Redemption?
Intentional.
Intention.
Intentional based.
Yeah, like an intentional based situation where there's a desired outcome or something, or an objective to obtain.
So in those communities, when there is this worship of silence, what are they doing exactly?
Well, it seems like they're looking for a better experience.
Through silence.
Yes. Like sitting quietly, then we'll feel better. We'll get something. We'll feel more peace or equanimity or tranquility.
Beating their heads against the wall, really.
That can happen too. Yeah.
And then what's your take on, well, years and years ago, like I had contact with some Osho community and teachers, etc. There seems to be like a very celebratory aspect to, well, it's a sangha in a way. It's a Osho community is kind of based on Osho's values, but what's your take on that?
Well, it seems like an attempt to bring Tantra and Eastern practices and philosophy to the West, which seem to all totally chaotically collapse into madness. Yeah.
Yeah, it did.
The intention to allow the Western folk to release and embrace, to release emotions and trauma and stuff and embrace sexuality or whatever else it was they were up to,
Yeah.
with the intention of finding relief or comfort or something.
Comfort.
Pleasure, contentment, or union.
Yeah, because his speech never really touched these lines we are talking about here. It was...
No, he's a teacher. He may have occasionally said something that would sound similar, perhaps,
Yeah.
but it always seemed to be coming from a position of someone knowing something that can help someone else.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he brought a lot of comfort to the Western communities in a way.
He may have tried to,
Or tried to, yeah.
and there's nothing wrong or right with any of that, and it's not better than this or worse than this. It's just what is.
How'd that work out for him?
Good way to make money, though.
Yeah, I mean, he seemed to enjoy his Rolls Royces and Rolex watches as well as the so-called spiritual things.
Yeah. Lots of it.
What was he on? Like laughing gas or something? He was on something.
I don't. He was on all sorts, probably.
Yeah.
He seems to be the Joker of the spiritual world.
What?
Osho seems to be the Joker of the spiritual world.
Oh, the Joker.
Yeah.
Osho, a.k.a. Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh.
Yeah.
The name changed after the fiasco.
Yeah. He's an interesting character, you can give him that. He seemed to attract a lot of younger folk because he was so utterly chaotic and rebellious.
Mm-hmm.
He seemed to be quite, or at least that's the impression, he seemed to be quite anti-establishment, and that seemed to be very appealing to the younger folk, seeking for, you know, freedom.
Especially in the 60s, 70s.
Well, it was more 70s and 80s, I think he was around, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah.
So in a way, yeah, why it feels the same, but I know it feels the same as people sitting in silence, aiming to be in silence, versus we here just sitting, just not doing anything. But it's very similar.
So silence is just happening, yeah.
Yeah.
And then perhaps there might be accommodating sense that someone is sitting in silence, and that maybe if we sit in silence for long enough, then we'll find something, or we'll get or achieve something, or we'll arrive somewhere.
Yeah.
Or maybe we'll let go of all of that, and then we'll arrive.
Well, yeah, we are not doing that.
No one already.
So, like, in a way, whatever you choose to worship, you're making that whatever it's into an object and relating to that.
Without a chooser, yeah.
Without a choosing.
Yeah, so there's no choice that happens. But yeah, you know, a guru or a teaching, a scripture, a practice is simply an object that a separate self experience relates to an object of gratification, so as to provide some hope for a better future,
Yeah.
a promised land, a destination.
So even though there's no one choosing that, as you said, there's an inherent promise in the act of worshiping something, right?
The worship and the practices and all of this seem to provide, yeah, some hope.
And even that, without a choice, it's already freedom, let's say.
Of course, yeah, there is only freedom, yeah. Yeah, unconditional freedom.
The of course is good.
Well, it's just because there is only unconditional freedom.
Yeah.
So there's not unconditional freedom and then conditional freedom, or then conditional constraint. Constraint, restraint, restriction, suppression, oppression, contraction is freedom, appearing as that.
Yeah, I guess even though when we heard unconditional love or unconditional freedom, then sometimes it's hard to grasp the actual meaning of being unconditioned.
Yeah, it's impossible. Yeah,
It's too open.
Yeah, it's ungraspable. It's ungraspable because grasping is as well.
Yeah.
So there's nowhere to stand outside to view unconditional freedom to then relate to it and grasp it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my very existence depends on moving towards somewhere. It's just like, it's unfathomable that, it's unfathomable. It leaves you with, it's a complete total loss. It's just not, it's where? Like,
yeah. Exactly, because to exist is to stick out, yeah. So as long as I've got something to relate to, something to know, something to do, somewhere to go, I am a someone. Yeah, because the someone depends on something, yeah. Utterly dependent. And yet there's no real difference between subject-object. There's not even a between, it's a dream. A dream of between.
I don't think you have to worry, it's not going to be quiet anymore.
Because of me?
No. You too.
You too? That's an Irish music group.
You too, oh yeah.
Right? So war just apparently happens, but no one chooses. No one chooses war.
There's no chooser.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Yeah. See, we're innocent.
Yeah, totally. Angels.
There is only unconditional innocence.
So all those grudges that I hold means that all of those people I found so disappointing, they weren't choosing to be that.
No, because there's no one.
Yeah.
So there might be the projecting the separation experience onto a body called Hitler or Genghis Khan, Caligula, or whoever else, and saying they chose to be that way. There was no one ever.
I hope my Jewish father didn't hear that.
But getting angry still may happen. For no one.
Genghis Khan wasn't that bad.
Was he not?
What?
Not bad or good, apparently. How many of those have you got?
I don't think you're making enough noise with it.
I mean, where do they all come from?
It's magic.
You've just got like an endless sort of, you know, endless bottomless pit in that little bag. Full of ginger sweets.
Would you like some candy? Get in the van.
Does anyone have a stick?
What? Wait.
There's a big one right there, you might reach.
Oh, that'll do.
shifted position.
Oh, did you?
This is boring.
Don't worry, we've only got 2 more hours.
He's honest.
I'm sorry?
We've only got 2 more hours. It's boring because you're not getting anything out of this, and yet you asked for liberation, which is your death.
I missed the last part.
Yeah, selective deafness.
You should have went to Susan today, Jack.
What does that mean?
Because you said you're going to see Susan, your friend, tomorrow.
That's tomorrow.
No, you should have went.
She's not home today.
You said selective deafness?
Selective deafness, yeah. It was a term that Claire and Tony coined. When someone's seemingly deliberately not hearing what's being said. Not deliberately through choice, obviously, it's not a choice, but when there's the just total non-openness, there's a total absence of hearing anything that's being said. Yeah.
Can that be a defense mechanism?
Yeah, it seems like it, yeah.
Yeah, I gotta say in the beginning, well, in the early parts I was expecting, let's say, more interactivity, even though I've been interacting a little bit more, but then now kind of just, I guess, relaxed, and then that's fine too.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that there's nothing really to ask any longer, or talk about anymore, so
Yeah.
what the fuck are you going to do?
That's often how meetings go.
What?
That seems to be often how meetings go. There's just a fizzling out of getting anywhere, or attempting to get anywhere, to find something out, to figure out a new concept or idea, to pick at this. It's just like, there just seems to be a settling. Yeah.
Or you just sit there with an energy of discomfort,
Yeah, that too, yeah. Restlessness, boredom.
nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Why is it so difficult to sit still? I'm always looking for something else, something to do, or I can sit still for a couple minutes. But then I'm like looking all over the room.
You can sit still for a couple of minutes.
Well, I was giving myself the benefit of the doubt.
Oh. It's not hard to sit still. It's already happening.
You know what? Wait till after this meeting.
There's a wanting to get something. Isn't it obvious?
Not really. Not wanting to get something. It's like, I can't describe it. I don't.
Well, there's perhaps a restless energy that's dissatisfied with the total starvation of getting something, and so boredom setting in is a total dis-ease and dissatisfaction with what's happening.
Maybe so.
Which is also totally, unconditionally, absolutely this.
But one can sit still anyway, because there is no one.
Because there's no...
There is no one.
Right?
So that one, not being able to sit still energy is just what's happening.
Yes. And...
Full stop.
You started out with that like you were going to ask a question.
But there have been quite a few mood swings today here. From fear to laughter to boredom. But I mean, I'm usually not that restless, yeah.
Do you mean usually as in meetings or usually in general in life? In so-called?
In general.
Yeah, okay.
Probably my ADHD acting up. Yeah.
It sounds like the restless energy of starvation of a separation experience. It's not happy with the way that it's not being validated or giving something to do or to chew on.
Well, then would it kill you to validate?
Hence the bloody ginger sweets for a start.
Would it kill you to validate me? Yes, Jack, very good. You're probably your way to enlightenment.
It wouldn't kill you to validate you, that's the problem.
Well, it's also because that character has been, meditation has been part of the life of that character for such a long time. So what happens when there's silence, probably there's a comfort in closing your eyes and being in that space, something like that. And then I think what happens, maybe perhaps from the audience, people think that it's some sort of an agenda or something.
Oh.
Misunderstanding it, you know, like I shouldn't be saying anything or something like that.
Oh, right.
You know?
Yeah. It just seems to be a preference and an enjoyment of closed eyes, yeah, when there's no chatting happening. Sometimes not, sometimes, you know.
Thank you, Joe.
But that's maybe an interesting point, because non-duality speakers seem to be very easy to, let's say, stay still. But at the same time, let's put it this way, not so non-duality other teachers, which for satsangs, for example, they...
Not so non-duality.
Yeah, or entirely non-duality whatsoever.
Teachers, yeah.
Yeah, let's say satsang teachers.
Gurus and that, practitioners.
Gurus, yeah, they practice and develop those skills across a number of years, and then you go to satsang, and then you acquire those skills too, and then you sit still. But just interestingly enough, non-duality speakers tend to also very easily stay still, like Joey was saying, you know. Maybe historically you practice too.
Yeah, I guess there's perhaps the appearance of conditioning, of comfort in silence and stillness. There's also the comfort in, you know, dance and play and joy and singing and laughing. But body, you know, is when there's this, just the absence, there's no one having an agenda with silence or sound and chatter. So it's all totally, absolutely free to be what it is.
Yeah, no, but I think my question is it that easiness of sitting still comes from liberation, or it comes from an apparent history of a character?
Not sure, really. I mean, when there's someone having an experience of sitting on a chair, there will seemingly always be an agenda to get something, to find something out, to do something, even to try and be still. Like there's an agenda to sit still. Like we said, just sitting becomes a practice to sit still. Mm-hmm. And this all is just agitated, contracted energy. That's not meant with any negative connotations whatsoever, but this is an agitated state. Even the attempt to get more blissful, to get more tranquil, more peace, more relaxation. There's an agitated energy that's not happy with the way things are. And that seems to be what happens for people in meetings, is that there's a dis-ease, a dissatisfaction, an agitation, because there's no progression happening, and it irritates, it seems, because it's starving for something, anything at all, even, you know, an instruction as to how to breathe or whatever, you know, and it just gets nothing, and so the agitation can seem to flare up, apparently. And then it might even say, well, I haven't had meditation practices, or I have ADHD, and that's why I can't sit still. It's making excuses. It's excuse making. It's restless energy appearing as a want to get somewhere or achieve something or to obtain something.
No food.
Total starvation, yeah. So sitting still would seem, you know, to apparently be easier for no one, for a no one thing, or no thing, no one experience.
Okay.
Not experience, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Interesting.
But not necessarily, because if neurodivergence is seemingly still appearing in a body without a me experience, yeah, there may be preference to walk instead of sit still. There's no rules to that.
Still or war?
To walk instead of sit still. You know, if body has, you know, neurodivergent energy, it may still seem to struggle to sit still.
Did you say non-divergent?
Neurodivergent.
Neurodivergent.
Like ADHD, autism, that kind of thing. You know. What was that?
I said nice euphemism, not
Yeah.
neurodivergent.
Yeah. Yeah. Seems to be one of the reasons why this me-orientated energy seems to love getting tangled up in the concepts about all of this, because it's just another distraction. Like if I try and figure this out conceptually, if I try and analyze it and really pin down the understanding, or find a way to find holes in it and you know, argue with it and debate about it, because that would all be another distraction from the simple, ordinary thisness that is all there is. So you might get these attempts, you know, fight with this, or to grasp it, understand it, analyze it.
Yeah, it feels like fighting sometimes.
Yeah.
But that fighting is also this. That's the part that is.
Yeah.
I mean, conceptually, one can say that, but at the same time, it's what you're saying, right?
Yeah. That's why there's no agenda to change that, because that's just as equally this as someone apparently agreeing with what's being shared.
Someone what?
So that's why fighting with this, there's no agenda to change that. If someone disagrees and walks out the door and slams the door, you know, it's like, well, that's just freedom. Agreement, disagreement, resonating, resisting. There's no closer or further away from what is and isn't.
And why it looks like, well, from some sort of POV, why it still looks like for a no one. I mean, it just feels like that a no one would be closer to what is.
No.
Even though you say it's not.
There's no something happening for no one. There's not a something happening for no one.
It sounds like a someone called no one.
Yeah, exactly. There's not a no one having a better experience or a more equanimous experience. There's just this. It's totally simple, ordinary. Whether there's a separation experience or not is all totally equally what is. There's no getting closer or further away from that, because there's just...
So essentially there's no difference because there is not two.
Yeah, and there's no real separation either. So there's no separation between a separate experience and an absent body or whatever, because that can't be defined, it can't be someoned. So that there's no separation between separation and non-separation. There just is no separation.
But for separation only sees separation.
It is separation, and therefore it projects it. It projects that onto everyone else, and so it projects it onto a no one, an apparent no one, and says that's a no one, and this is a someone. It doesn't understand. It's just incomprehensible.
So it says something like, that's not separate.
Yeah, that's
this
a no
is
one.
separate. Hence there are two.
That's a no one over there sitting at the front, seeming to know what they're talking about, and I'm a someone trying to figure out what this no one is talking about. Maybe one day I'll be a no one too.
Yeah.
There's just no one already.
But saying a no one is already making it into an object.
Exactly, a no one. A thing called no one.
Yeah. Can't argue. Can't find a way. I can't find any way at all.
No.
Across.
No across. No other side or other shore.
This is like brutal starvation. It's just insane.
It's quite like, I didn't think it turned into something really nice actually. I'm really enjoying it now.
God damn it.
Next week I'm planning an advanced class and they just shoot you right there. That's it.
Yeah, you have a whole table with like instruments on them. Like hatchets and chainsaws and cyanide capsules. Does that sound interesting?
It sounds wonderful.
Better than this for Jack.
However, this
So
side,
no one commits suicide.
There's no one already. Suicide apparently happens. Which is then apparently the end of a dream that's not really happening.
Just so happened.
We disagree.
Yeah.
Suicide is an attempt to have a better experience, it would seem. Trying to get relief from what is.
We don't know. Do we?
Yeah, that's what it seems to be. As long as there's someone, there's an agenda, and when there's an agenda, there's an attempt to get something better. And that would be an example of an extreme situation where there's a desire to have a better experience. Not knowing that it's the absence. It could never know absence. It's the end of knowing.
But interestingly enough, suicide, I think, mostly derives from the self, or from the illusory self, because it's generally not seen in the animal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it seems to appear out of the neurosis seems to get so strong, and it's just too much for body to handle.
And it's so frowned upon.
And yet it's liberation.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of his books, but I don't know if you read anything from Jed McCann. Anyway, he said the predicament of in the predicament of the individual, the only logical reason not to commit suicide is failure to succeed will result in possible $10,000 fine and 6 months jail sentence.
Yeah.
I was at someplace at work when
Can we pass the mic over?
somebody famous committed suicide, and I said, well, you know, it's great, it's relief. And everybody was, you know, they were looking at me like I was burning the Bible or something.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I was like, well, that's what he just wanted, he had enough, you know?
Yes, yeah.
What's wrong with that? He chose that, because I point that out. I was the one that,
Chose it?
That's what happened, yeah.
Yeah.
Who chose it?
No
He
one.
said he chose it.
No one did anything.
But there was a choice to end the pain.
The appearance of a thing happened called suicide, yeah.
But suicide just happened.
Yes.
No one chose it.
No choice has ever been made by anyone. There isn't anyone to choose. But things still apparently happen. Me could never seem to understand that suicide is liberation. Death, murder, it's liberation for no one. Because it lives in knowing. It wants to stay eternally in that state of knowing. It could never imagine its own greatest fear, which is absence, unknowing, death. And so it hates, or it seems to hate, the idea of someone taking their own life or someone else's life, because that's absence of separation. It's another projection. It's a projection. How could they do that? To themselves or to someone else? It's his relief. There's no condemning or condoning it, but it's what seems to happen.
Do I look stable enough to hear that? So any path is perfect.
Well, there are no paths.
How about the crime? That's perfect as well? A crime, somebody...
So this
person knows what... I knew what I did. I should be locked up because I'm going to do it again.
So this doesn't tend to say the word perfect very often, but if we're talking about perfection, it's unconditionally perfect, which means that can never be comprehended by an individual experience, because that means that everything that's happening is this. That's totally unapplicable. It's useless. No one could ever apply that. It's pointing out there is no one to apply that. That doesn't help anyone. It's not a helpful piece of information.
It's the same as that we know what we're doing. Like, I'm going to lift up your phone now, so we know what we're doing. It's just happening.
There is only what's appearing to happen.
She just called us stupid.
I don't think so.
No, you didn't.
Crime, joy, pleasure, pain.
Pleasure. I like, how about a fear of death? Some people are very afraid of dying.
The me
Yeah,
is,
because they're afraid, they have too much pleasure maybe in their life and they're afraid to die. And then other people, they want to die because they don't have any pleasure in their life. So what is the fear in both? But the same fear, to die.
Yeah, me will always seemingly be afraid of its own absence. Whether that's prior to the death of the body or after, or, well, during the death of the body, doesn't make a difference. But that is the fear of absence. That would never go away without me.
Yeah.
No, it will always be subtly there. It might think that, oh, I have no, you know.
You promise?
This is suicide, this meeting.
Committing to come to a meeting, yeah. Without any chooser in it.
Yes, exactly, without even knowing.
But, you know, there's such a relief. There's such a relief with this, like when it comes to suicide, because when it came, you know, Chester Bennington and Keith and Prodigy and these celebrities, these men, it's like there's just relief. It could never be comprehended by someone that it's like they're not suffering anymore. There's no more suffering for that body or illusory experience. It seems to hate hearing that for some reason, but it's like it's absolute liberation.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, it's not boring now.
Are you happy now? Are you satisfied? Are you satisfied?
something to chew on.
Alert
Fight against.
Yeah.
But there's something scary about that. That type of freedom, there's something...
Yeah. It's compassion. Compassion is unbearable for me. It thinks it knows what compassion is. It has no bloody idea.
What is that?
Compassion.
What about it?
What did you say about it?
The me experience seems to think it knows what compassion is, and what this is suggesting is it has no idea what compassion is. Yeah.
It's the ruthless destroyer of illusion.
Kali Ma.
Will you be quiet?
No, will you be quiet?
You're the one wearing a werewolf bloody t-shirt. That's the compassion right there.
This I know. Yeah, it's like a feral freedom of
Yeah. Fiery.
wild.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yes.
And what it doesn't seem to be able to ever comprehend at any level is that it's freedom for no one, because it comes here to get something. I'm going to be no one. That's the new enlightenment. That's the new heaven. It wants something. There's going to be a better experience here, and it can't digest that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, no, please go on.
Can't digest this. I'm not going to get anything.
Yeah. Yes.
How about that, Alexis? If, for example, I feel like sometimes what is happening, I feel like I didn't do that. I don't have that me. I don't have that confirmation I did that. So, but something happened, and I don't even remember how is this happened. So, what is that? What is the emptiness?
Don't quite understand what you mean.
I mean, if I do something and I don't even remember I did that, right? It is like a space. I don't remember how is that happened. I didn't want it to do that, but I still did it. It still happened.
Yeah.
So, what is that then? Missing information.
I don't know.
Lost in translation.
Maybe.
Yes, Mom, you didn't just have that half almond croissant outside before you came in.
Yeah. Maybe you weren't there. Maybe you weren't there.
Maybe I wasn't there.
Because me seems to think it's always been around.
Yes.
Like I
That's
have
what
always been I am. I've never not been I am. Therefore I am. Period. Constant.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And what it doesn't seem to realise in its sort of beautifully innocent naivety is that it's not even happening at all, but it's definitely not substantial or consistent, because there will be times within the day that it's not even there at all. It's already not there at all, but you know, there are seemingly times when it's just not even happening. Driving to work, or you know, going to sleep.
So this character just do?
It's already free-flowing aliveness for no one, timelessly.
Thank you.
So nothing is living, nothing is dying, nothing is coming, nothing's going. There's just, I don't have a word for it.
Just aliveness. Unconditional aliveness.
That's too big. Wow.
So nothing has ever lived.
Or died. Nothing has ever lived or died. There's the appearance of organism, breathing, mating, feeding, dying and being born, the appearance, but there's no one in it. There's just boundlessness. So boundlessness is all there is. It's everything, it's everywhere, it's every when, and yet it's timeless, spaceless, and nothing at all. It's this. Can't be figured out, can't be moved towards or away from, can't be stepped outside of. There's no dimensions or distance to what is. There is just simply this, which is all there is. Absolute freedom for no one. And this compassion is totally wild and incomprehensible. Doesn't belong to anyone. It isn't coming from anyone or coming at anyone. It just is the appearance of the absence of something that never really was happening. Apparent assistance or allowing for that to simply fall away, which was never a reality to fall away. So whether this apparently sticks around or withers or shimmers or fades, it is all nothing. It's all nothing appearing as that. So this is timeless freedom, boundlessness, which can't be accepted, allowed, let go to, or surrendered. It just is totally, absolutely, without agenda, all there is. Thank you. Much more.